I didn't know whether he was ushering tonight or not. All right, let's begin. Act 2, Scene 1, page 40. I'll start it off. Save thee, Kieran.
And you, sir, I have been with your father and given him notice that the Duke of Cornwall and Reg and his Duchess will be here with him this night.
How comes that?
Nay, I know not. You have heard of the news abroad, I mean the whispered ones, for they are yet but ear-kissing arguments.
Not I. Pray you, what are they?
Have you heard of no likely wars toward betwixt the Dukes of Albany and Cornwall and Albany?
Not a word. You may do then in time. Fare you well, sir.
The Duke be here tonight, the better, best. This weaves itself perforce into my business. My father has set guard to take my brother, and I have one thing of a queasy question, which I must act. Briefness and fortune work. Brother, a word. Descend, brother, I say. My father watches. O sir, fly this place. Intelligence is given where you are hid. You have now the good advantage of the night. Have you not spoken against the Duke of Cornwall? He's coming hither now in the night, in the haste, and Regan with him. Have you nothing said upon his party against the Duke of Albany? Advise yourself.
I'm sure, Aunt. Not a word.
I hear my father coming. Pardon me. In cunning I must draw my sword upon you. Draw, seem to defend yourself. Now quit you. Well, yield. Come before my father. Light hold. Here. Fly, brother. Torches, torches. So farewell. Some blood drawn on me would beget opinion of my fierce endeavor. I have seen drunkards do more than this in sport. Father, father, stop, stop. No help?
Now, Edmund, where's the villain?
Here stood he in the dark, his sharp sword out, mumbling of wicked charms, conjuring the moon, the same auspicious mistress.
But where is he?
Look, sir, I bleed.
Where is the villain, Edmund? Fled this way, sir, when by no means he could.
Pursue him, ho, go after. By no means what?
Persuade me to the murder of your lordship, but I told him that the revenging gods against parasites did all their thunder bend. Spoke with how manifold and strong a bond the child was bound to the father. Sir, in fine seeing how loathly opposite I stood to his natural purpose, in fell motion with his prepared sword, he charges home my unprovided body, latched mine arm, but when he saw my best alarmed spirits bold in the quarrel's right, roused to the encounter, or whether gasted by the noise I made, full suddenly he fled.
Let him fly far. Not in this land shall he remain uncaught. And found dispatch. The noble Duke, my master, my worthy arch and patron, comes tonight. By his authority I will proclaim it, that he which finds him shall deserve our thanks, bringing the murderous coward to the stake. He that conceals him, death.
When I dissuaded him from his intent and found him right to do it with cursed speech, I threatened to discover him. He replied, "Thou unpossessing bastard, dost thou think if I would stand against thee, would the reposal of any trust, virtue, or worth in thee make thy words faith? No, what I should deny, as this I would, though thou didst produce my very character, I'd turn it all to thy suggestion, plot, and damned practice. And thou must make a dullard of the world, if they not thought the profits of my death were very pregnant and potential spirits may be seeking."
O strange and fastened villain, would he deny this letter, said he, I never got him. Hark the Duke's trumpets. I know not why he comes. All ports I'll bar, the villain shall not escape. The Duke must grant me that, besides this picture, I will send far and near, that all the kingdom may have due note of him, and of my land. Loyal and natural boy, I will work the means to see thee killed, to make thee killed.
How now, my noble friend, since I came hither, which I can call but now, I have heard strange news.
If it be true, all vengeance comes too short, which can pursue the offender. How thus, my lord?
Oh, madam, my old heart is cracked. It's cracked.
What? Did my father's godson seek your life? You whom my father named your Edgar?
Oh, lady, shame would have it dead.
Was he not companion with the riotous knights that tended upon my father?
I know not, madam. Too bad. Just too bad. Yes, madam, he was of that consort.
No marvel then, though he was ill affected, as they have put him on the old man's death, to have the expense and waste of his revenues. I have this present evening from my sister been well informed of them, and with such cautions, that if they come to sojourn at my house, I'll not be there.
Nor I, assure thee, Edmund. Edmund and I hear that you have shown your father a childlike office.
It was my duty, sir.
Bewray his practice, and receive this hurt you see, striving to apprehend him.
Is he pursued?
Aye, my good lord.
If he be taken, he shall never more be feared of doing harm. Make your own purpose, and in my strength you please. For you, Edmund, whose virtue and obedience doth this instant so much commend itself, you shall be ours. Natures of such deep trust we shall much need. You we first seize on.
I shall serve you, sir, truly, however else.
For him I thank you. Thank your grace. You know not why we came to visit you.
Thus out of season, dreading dark-eyed night, occasions noble processor of some prize, wherein we must have use of your advice. Our father he hath writ, so hath our sister, of differences which I best thought it fit to answer from our home. The several messengers from hence attend dispatch. Our good old friend, lay comforts to your bosom, and bestow your needful counsel to our businesses, which crave the instant use.
I serve you, madam. Your graces are right welcome. Exit first.
No, it's like this.
Well, this is one of those plays that has not a lot of material that is immediately relevant to our theme or directly pertinent to it. So we should be able to get through the whole Act 2 easily tonight. But in doing that, I have a few things that are a little bit convoluted to get at some things. In Greece, the plays were usually written in trilogies. They had the competitions for the playwrights at the Greater and Lesser Dionysia, which were held at Christmas and Easter. And even the Easter Dionysia floated just like our Easter floats, according to the full moon after the equinox. On 3 days of the play, each playwright offered a play, and the winner that had the best lot of 3 received prize. One of the very best of those trilogies was the Orestia trilogy by Aeschylus. Orestes was the son of King Agamemnon, who led all of the other kings in the Trojan War. When they went to get Helen of Troy back, for Menelaus, who was the brother of Agamemnon. It was his wife that had been stolen. But they waited a number of years, and they didn't get winds to go to Troy. And so what Agamemnon did was sent to the oracle at Delphi what he should do in order to get the winds to go to Troy to fight the battle. And he was told that if he sacrificed his daughter Iphigenia, that he would not only get the winds, but he would win the war. And so he did. While he was gone all those years, both waiting in the harbor and fighting in Troy, his wife Clytemnestra had an affair with a man named Aegisthus. And she was very upset about losing her daughter Iphigenia. She had torches set out, or people who would set warning fires, so that at the first sign of the ships of Agamemnon, she would be warned. And so what happens is that Agamemnon comes back to the castle after having fought the war against the Trojans. The first thing that happens is that his wife and his cuckolder fall on him and kill him. This leaves the son of Agamemnon, whose name is Orestes, and the one who the trilogy is named after, in a difficult spot. On one hand, he's supposed to avenge the death of his father. But if he does so, he has to kill his mother, and any time to kill a parent, that's supposed to be the worst of all things. But he resolves himself that he loves his father, and he has to defend his father's right, or his father's good name. And so what he does is he murders both his mother and Aegisthus. But the gods do not like parricides. So what happens is a large number of guilt embodiments called Erinyes start hounding him. In fact, there were so many Erinyes hounding Orestes that when the play was put on, the people started screaming, and there was like a riot. And they had a law in Athens after that you could only have so many disembodied spirits as part of your play because you didn't want to start a public riot.
Well, that's understandable.
And they chased him for years until he finally took refuge with Theseus in Athens. And Theseus held the first court in the Western world. And as a result of the judgment of that first court, Orestes was absolved of the crime, and the Erinyes didn't bother him anymore. Nice story. In the ancient Greek world, parricide was considered one of the worst of sins. It was right alongside incest. So you can see how horrible the play of Oedipus was, because Oedipus was both incestual with his mother and he was the slayer of his father. We see in several places in this play, most notably at line 48 on page 42, we see this, even Edmund says the gods don't like people who murder their fathers. And it's repeated several times, and it's something that goes throughout all of Western culture, so I want to go into that a few seconds. Now, the Greeks never said why parricide was such a sin. It's indicated probably that it was an insult against one's own lineage. Lear does mention a possible reason: ingratitude. It's something that most parents hear at least once during the rearing of their children, usually in teenage years. The child will be chafing and against the bit of rule by the parents, and it'll say, I didn't ask to be born. Well, in the first place, that's not true. Most of us did ask, and we would have even begged to come back. But we forget those things once we get in the body and the flesh covers us over. So there is ingratitude on the part of a child for all the sacrifices, large and small, that the parents make. And then there is the big ingratitude. That is for even the right to come into this world. Because if our parents hadn't given us the ability to come into this world, we could never improve. We could never test. We could never carry out our part of the creation. We could never fulfill any of our dreams. So there is a huge ingratitude. Big things to be harping about. But then you ask yourself, why is gratitude such a big thing? I want to reverse my tracks and go to something that we went into about 7 or 8 years ago when we studied myths on the origin of evil. We gave a partial answer there, and now we can give a more full answer. You remember it all very
Yeah, I was here. It's very clear.
There is one.
At that time, we looked at the Garden of Eden story for the origin of evil in the Judeo-Christian world. We looked at the whole of Genesis. And when we did so, we noted that in the creative story, or the creation story, in one of the versions of it, each time that something was done in the creation, the creative hierarchies, or the gods, or the Elohim, as they are called in the Bible, looked at what they had created and they saw that it was good. We said at that time that that act of recognition, of seeing it's finished, of seeing it's perfect, of seeing that it is good, was the finalizer that objectified the creative work. You had a feeling of its being finished, because when you could look at it, you could see that it was good, you didn't have any feelings of imperfection or incompletion. That was the thing that finalized it.
So that helped the end of, that helped
Yep.
gel the creation.
Yep. We're going to go a little bit more in detail on it now. Everything in the transcendental realms, which are beyond the concrete mind, everything there is universal. And most of the creative work is compounding universal ideas to create a complex creative idea. And then out of that idea, the thought form or the concretion is projected. So if you have an idea of a book, that idea might compound ideas like substance or buoyancy or aquadynamics or structure or steerage, and all kinds of other things go into the idea of a book. When the creative idea is completed, beside there being gratitude and that sense of wholeness or perfection or completion, you can feel that. But one of the last ideas, very closest to the phenomenal worlds, is the idea of a being, or being. We've talked about this quite a few other times when we have said that to know self is to know God. Because God is an idea, and self is an idea. The universal spirit is something else, but when you conceive something as an idea, that is the closest to the phenomenal world. That's where the spiritual ego looks into these phenomenal worlds. Now, at the moment when the idea of something is created and it is given being in a concrete sense, or that finalizing sense, as opposed to beingness, or it's just some kind of subsistent existence, there is a twofold activity. The idea is given being, or it is objectified, and it becomes a concrete thought, or a concrete thought is projected out of it. Now you have to be careful to distinguish between a being in existence. The word existence means ex, like an external or exit, versus subsistence. Subsistence is the state in spirit that is eternal. Now, when the thought is projected as an act of creative will, there's something like, well, you can't really use the word, but there's something like a recoil. A stream of consciousness proceeds back into the spirit from the lowest region of the ideational consciousness, the region in which being is found. Seen another way, it's almost like the spirit is reflecting off of the concrete mind, and there is a reflection of that identity, that being, and that objectification. And that stream of consciousness carries the whole process of the immaculate conception of the idea that has now become an object. It carries that back into the spirit. And the spirit then has the feeling of its own goodness realized in the completion. It's not vanity. It's just an appreciation of goodness without any kind of vanity or anything of that nature. If we can do something, I even think it happens sometimes. It isn't always vanity. If a football player has just made a great play of some kind and he gets all excited and says, wow, that was beautiful. You can do that without vanity. Now, that appreciation is one kind of gratitude. Let's look at the other side, the flip side of the gratitude. And that's something like a reciprocal, and that comes from the phenomenal side. It occurs in the lower nature, or the personal self, or the personal ego, or whatever you want to call it, the part of us that is the puppet. And it involves rethinking. Rethinking is something like memory, but it's more than memory. It is thinking the thought in reminiscence in such a way that the original creative will that was put into the thought is neutralized. It's like cause and consequence, or action and reaction neutralizing each other. The thought form, or the essence of it, is taken out and the form is left to dissolve. And the essence of all the experience of that thought and concretion, no matter how deep it went into phenomenal existence, the essence of all the experience is taken back into the spirit in the rethinking process, which is just as much of a spiritual process as the thinking process was in the first place. And the essence goes back to the original ideas that created the thought. whatever was involved with buoyancy, or whatever was involved with the style of the Creator, that goes back. What is similar goes back to its similar thing in the Spirit. This process is called spiritual assimilation. Now, a good part of this work, of this neutralization work, is a re-seeing from this lower point of view the same gratitude that finalized the thought in the first place. One looks back on an experience and appreciates it with gratitude. I think we've all had it, and we all have it a number of times in our life. We look at what we've experienced, and we are so thankful for the right to have that kind of experience. In fact, you have to be careful, because you can get attached to that gratitude, and then it becomes some kind of stale nostalgia out of which no soul growth can really come. So this gratitude frees one from attachment to the actions and the experiences, and it frees the creative spirit from being attached to its own creation. In the lower nature, this process of dissolving or remembering in the spirit rather than in the form, is like the child compared to the spiritual parent. If the child, the lower nature, has no gratitude, it stays locked in its forms, and it gets hard. If there is no gratitude in the child, in the personal self, there is no fulfillment for the spirit. If there isn't a handshake and a passing back of everything, nothing comes back to the spirit. It's not a reflection at this point. It's a throughput. And unless the essence of the experience goes right through into the spirit is at a loss. The spirit doesn't get angry. It can't get angry. But there must be something like a cosmic frustration at not having a fulfillment. So something like this is the ingratitude that Lear is talking about, and something like this is the parasite. You literally are starving the spirit, or you're literally killing the spirit by not having the gratitude and not giving back from what came. It's one of the surest things. Every psychologist, most mystics, Rudolf Steiner says the same thing that the psychologist says, unless you have a complete follow-through and everything that you start, that you carry through to the end and bring it back home again, there's likely to be psychological unhealth. There cannot be spiritual growth unless there is that. And so a parasite from ingratitude is that kind of activity. All right.
That way so many religions still admonish you to count your blessings.
Yes, yes. Now, we have something very dark to talk about, but since it's Christmas time, I want to talk about the light side of it first before the dark side. Because the light side has to do with our whole spiritual life. I want to talk a little bit about the evil and the nastiness of Edmund. What is involved in the way that Edmund functions, especially in the first two acts of this play, is a very important principle to good and evil, and to right and wrong, and to cause and consequence. All of us are striving as hard as we can for spiritual awakening. We want to grow spiritually. And we realize that kind of process or that kind of activity is revolutionary. We're changed in every part of our being, right to the core of our being. Everything is made new. It goes on perpetually like that. If or when we are innocent, the path to enlightenment is a little different. We love innocently, and we do good innocently. We all know people that are like that. They do good and loving deeds, but they don't even know how good they are, because they sort of do them in an innocent unconsciousness. They're innocent of their own loving and goodness. Because they are so innocent, the love and the goodness can just go right through them unimpeded. But if you think about it, that kind of ignorance, or that kind of innocence, is ignorant. Now, I don't want to speak against people who are unconsciously doing good because they love. The world needs a lot more love than people are bringing into it. But at the same time, I do not believe in benign ignorance. I do not believe the old saw that if ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. I don't believe that ignorance is bliss. However, when ignorance is removed, it's an important matter. You want to take away innocence or ignorance before a person is ready, because that's outright cruel. It requires some contemplation and some intuition, because if we delay too long, we've all been in situations where we should have taken someone's ignorance away, and they come back to us and say later, "Why didn't you tell me? It would have been so much easier if you had told me what a mistake I was making." Those are ignorances of others. And they're not as important as our own ignorance, for which we have a responsibility. All of us have fallen by choosing an imbalance of experience, material experience, over insight. So all of us are in a place where we don't have enough light, we don't have enough insight, we don't have enough intuition. But when we seek the light, to the exclusion of all ignorance, we encounter a problem. It's the problem that was behind the fall in the first place. But when we encounter it now, it's a benign problem, but a very, very difficult problem. And that is the problem of self. It's a very difficult problem because it goes beyond the innocent kind of selfishness that we had at the fall. If we want enlightenment and the cleansing of all ignorance, we must have knowledge. We must act in knowledge. We have to know things. Now, when it comes to cleansing and correction, it's relatively easy. When we know the machinations that take place in the darker corners of our soul, we can work around them or work through them. But there are times in our ignorance that we don't even know how perverse the darker side of our character is. We may even alibi or apologize for it. Sometimes we apologize for our own sins. We have to turn them all into virtues. But when we come to trying to love and to do good, which is much different than just correcting sins, things really get hard. Because there's something in even the spiritual self that is impedmental to true love and to true goodness. Because even the self is too conditional and too conditioning, even in idea. We all know people who stick by their principles. Their principles are good. They're not as good as love. And as long as they're sticking to their principles, they can't love. So there's something in selfhood that is impedmental to love. We've all experienced that one too. We've loved something, and we know that we're loving. And when we know that we're loving, we tarnish the love itself just by putting the sheen of ego on it. It's like we're tainting something that's very pure. Sometimes we even wish we could be innocent, or that we could be ignorant again, so that we could love, and love in such a way that we didn't taint it. This problem of self has been approached differently by different spiritual schools. Some schools teach that the problem is endemic to selfhood, which is true to some extent, and they seek to destroy the self. That may be something like a solution, but it's not really an answer, because if the self were destroyed, there would be nothing to focus the love anymore, and nothing would be done after that. And it seems rather blasphemous to destroy which has taken the gods eons to develop. Our selfhood is our godhood. And so our selfhood is very important for objectification and completion in serving the universal spirit. Now, in Rosicrucian Christianity, we are taught to perform loving, self-forgetting service. I love the sentiment, but I'm not keen on the words. Because self-forgetting is again another kind of intentional ignorance. I don't want any kind of intentional ignorance. We usually forget ourselves into trouble when we forget ourselves. We say, oh, I forgot myself. And you say we weren't there. It's picky, but I like the idea of self-sacrificing service much better. If we love and do good and allow or focus or let the love and goodness flow through us, we can do that with an attitude of self-sacrifice that minimizes egoism, that minimizes the impediment of love. We're sacrificing ourselves as foci. However, this sacrifice is only a beginning, because I think there is a better way yet. I told you it was going to be long and complicated. It is one of those joyous things that when we go deeper into something, we not only get something that's deeper, it's usually something much simpler. What I'm talking about now with regard to the problem of self, or self-sacrifice, or self-forgetting, or anything, any way to try to get beyond self, it's so simple that even the most pedestrian forms of Christianity have it, though they sometimes misunderstand it. When we know self, we've said it many times, we know God. the universal spirit comes to objective auto-awareness in the same kind of triune self as we do. It takes place every time ideas are formed. However, the universal spirit is only intimated in what is reflected or conceived by the triune objectification. Our self, that triune nature, is conceived in an ocean of selfness. It has to be made out of something. The self is out of selfness. And that selfness is like a pure truth, like a pure light, it's like a pure love. And in the realization of that, self is both humbled and spiritually glorified. This state of selfness, or love, or light, or truth, is called in Rosicrucian Christianity life spirit. Called different things in different religions. As we experience it, we know all other selves, including the one. We know all other selves in spirit, in the spirit of selfness. The love that is that reality is really a kind of altruism. It's also an agape kind of love. That love, which seems to hold all things together, has in reality a character. In the West, the character that is given, or the name that is given to the character of love and selfness, is called Christ. It has character, it has selfness, and it has identity, but not an identity, because that love is so aformal that it would be quite wrong to think of it merely as being some kind of a super self. This selfness, or this our selfhood that we have, is an objectified focus of that. The picture that always comes to my consciousness is a classical picture. In the physical world, there is the ocean, which seems boundless. And then little whirlpools or eddies or rills form. And each of those is a focus that defines the otherwise shapeless ocean. And the nature of the self relative to the ocean, relative to selfness, is like the eddy relative to the ocean. The process of shifting the perspective from the empty eddy, from the whirlpool to the ocean, is the process of shifting one's attention from self to selfness. This is revolutionary. This is very big. This is the way of the future. It is a wonderful thing because the self is not lost in the process. But there is no intention of self in it. So there's no tarnishing of love. So when a Christian on the street volitionally gives his or herself to Christ, that's literally what they're trying to accomplish. In some cases, for some people, it seems to be a abandonment of individual responsibility, but that's neither here nor there. So it is a transcendence of a very, very high order. All of the functions of the self are still carried out, but they do that without taint and without impedance. Mystics of all kinds, all ages have reached this state, and no matter what their school of thought, they all say that in this state, it's impossible to sin. Meister Eckhart states it very, very clearly. I've seen it among Greek philosophers, and Sharad has probably seen it among Hindu philosophers. So it's possible to act with full consciousness that includes the self, but to do so without any taint. And in that way, the purest kind of love and the purest kind of goodness can be brought into the world. Now, the flip side of this is, it causes you to shudder when you think of it, it is possible to do evil with full self-consciousness. Not in quite the same way, but that is what Edmund is all about. In the first play that we looked at several years ago was The Winter's Tale. And in that play, King Leontes was pathologically introverted, and his own darkness and negativity he unconsciously projected onto others. It was unconscious. He didn't know it. We, in our descent into sin and material blindness to intuition and other inner life, we have progressed so far that in this little tiny island of waking consciousness that we do have, we're not often aware of our true spiritual nature. Moreover, we're not even aware of most of our diabolical nature. We have developed a nexus of sin because this world is opaque and we can hide behind things, and somehow we have taken that knowledge of not being visible and brought that into our consciousness in such a way that the lower nature knows it can stay hidden from us. It has its own agenda. Now, it's not wise to speak too much about it, and it's not wise to even give it too much of an independent entity, because that's a form of dissociation. And if you dissociate in that manner, you not only produce a split consciousness in yourself, but you give more power to it to work in autonomy. We have to always accept full responsibility, even for the parts of ourselves that we don't see, and even for the dark deeds that we may do without full consciousness. In any case, the lower nature often pulls the strings. And we tell ourselves we'd never do these things. We're surprised when they happen. You know, we've all looked back and said, I never meant to lie. And sometimes you're in a spot or in a pinch, and lying comes out of you. Well, whether we're aware or not, we're still responsible. That alone should give us very intense motivation to become wakingly conscious. There are some other kinds of errors that we make in ignorance, and some of them are more innocent, because it isn't all just a matter of the lower nature, because sometimes we meet things we've never met before, because that's what creation is all about. It's not all written out. And so we meet something we've never met before, and not understanding it, we call it learning by trial and error, to learn what the unknown is. Of course, sometimes those errors are compounded because we don't intuitively approach the unknown with balance and internal guidance, intuitive internal guidance, so we make errors there too. But eventually we'll bring intuition to that. Now, these are all examples of more or less or different varieties of unconscious wrongdoing. Edmund is involved in a much more nasty thing than that. He's involved in serious conscious wrongdoing. And his is even worse than ours. Sometimes we know that something is wrong, and we know that we have the power to not do it, and sometimes just perversely, not knowing how much we are prisoners to our lower nature, sometimes we go ahead and do it anyway. Edmund is even worse than that. He does things with intentional malice. He not only intends to do wrong, he wants to do as much wrong to as many people as he can along the way. And he's no dummy. He sees that his father, Gloucester, is something of a simpleton who not only believes in goodness, but he also believes in other superstitions. Edmund has been shrewd enough to figure out that Gloucester has underneath this unrealistic belief in goodness also has an unrealistic suspicion and darkness that are the antipodes to this shallow, simplistic goodness that he touts. So what Edmund does in his scheming and play acting, he misleads his father, and he causes his father to project his own darkness and his own evil onto Edgar. So it isn't just, like Gloucester isn't a malignant being that would project in that same way if you weren't coached in it and if you weren't primed in it by Edgar. Edmund, I'm sorry. So he is really, really very bad, and he's using his conscious knowledge in one of the worst ways possible. This happens too in the world. It's suggested to us by movies and all sorts of other things to get us to project our negative things out. I think some people even do it just to get energy from us. All right. Suzanne is up. We're on page 45. We're reading Act 2, Scene 2.
Good dawning to thee, friend. Art of this house?
Aye.
Where may we set our horses?
In the mire.
Prithee, if thou lovest me, tell me.
I love thee not.
Why then, I care not for thee. If I had thee in this very pinfold, I would make thee care for me.
Thou use me thus. I know thee not.
Fellow, I know thee.
What dost thou know me for?
A knave, a rascal, an eater of broken meats, base, proud, shallow, beggarly, three-suited, 100-pound, filthy, worsted, stocking knave, well-delivered, action-taking horses, last plaguing, super-serviceable, pinnacle rogue, one trunk-inheriting slave, one that would be abhorred in way of good service, and are nothing but the composition of a knave, beggar, coward, pander, and the son and heir of a mongrel bitch. One whom I will beat into clamorous whining if thou deniest the least syllable of thy addition.
Why, what a monstrous fellow art thou, thus to rail on me that is neither known of thee nor knows thee.
What a brazen-faced varlet art thou to deny thou knowest me? Is it 2 days since I tripped up thy heels and beat thee before the king? Draw, you rogue, for though it be night that the moon shines, I'll make a sop of the moonshine of you, you whoreson, cunningly barbermonger. Draw.
Away, I have nothing to do with thee.
Draw, you rascal. You come with letters against the king and take Vanity the puppet's part against the royalty of her father. Draw, you rogue, or I'll so carbonado your shanks. Draw, you rascal, come your ways.
Help, ho, murder, help. Strike, you slave, stand, rogue. Stand, you neat slave, strike.
Asshole, help. No, help. Oh.
How now? What's the matter, Bart?
With you, good man boy? If you please. Come, I'll flush you. Come on, young master.
Weapons? Arms? What's the matter here?
Keep peace upon your lives. He dies that strikes again. What is the matter?
The messengers from our sister and the king.
What is your difference? Speak.
I am scarce in breath, my lord.
No marvel, you have so stared your veiler. You cowardly rascal, nature disclaims in thee. A tailor made thee.
Thou art a strange fellow. A tailor make a man.
A tailor, sir, a stonecutter or a painter could not have made him so ill, though they had been but 2 years of the grave.
Speak yet. How grew your quarrel?
This ancient ruffian, sir, whose life I have spared at suit of his gray beard.
Thou whoreson Zed, thou unnecessary letter. My lord, if you will give me leave, I will tread this unbolted villain into mortar and daub the wall of a jakes with him. Spare my grey beard, you wagtail.
Peace, sirrah, you beastly knave. Know you no reverence?
Yes, sir, but anger hath a privilege.
Yeah, I'm angry.
That such a slave as this should wear a sword who wears no honesty. Such smiling rogues as these, like rats, oft bite the holy cords of twain, which are to entice, to unloosen, smooth every passion that in the natures of their lords rebel, bring oil to fire, snow to colder moods. Renege and affirm, and turn their halcyon beaks with every gale and vary of their masters, knowing not like dogs but following. A plague upon your epileptic visage. Smile you my speeches as I were a fool. Goose, if I had you upon Sarum plain, I'd drive thee cracking home to Camelot.
What art thou, mad, old fellow? How fell you out?
Say that.
No contraries hold more antipathy than I am such an age.
Why dost thou call him knave? What is his fault?
His countenance likes me not.
No more perchance 'tis mine, nor his, nor hers.
Sir, 'tis my occupation to be plain. I have seen better faces in my time than stands on any shoulder that I see before me at this instant.
This is some fellow who, having been praised for bluntness doth affect a saucy roughness, and constrains the guard quite from his nature. He cannot flatter. He, an honest mind and plain, he must speak truth, and thou wilt take it so, if not he's plain. These kind of knaves I know, which in this plainness harbor more craft and more corrupter ends than 20 silly ducking of servants that stretch their duties nicely.
Sir, in good faith, in sincere verity, under the allowance of your great aspect, whose influence might reach the radiant fire on flickering Phoebus' front.
What meanest thou by this?
To go out of my dialect, which you command so much. I know, sir, I am no flatterer. He that beguiled you in a plain accent was a plain knave. But for my part, I will not be, though I should win your displeasure to entreat me to it.
What was the offense you gave him?
I never gave him any. It pleased the king his master very late to strike at me upon his misconstruction. When he, compact and flattering his displeasure, tripped me behind, being down, insulted, railed, and put upon him such evil man, that worthy him that praises of the king for him attempting who was self-subdued, and in the flesh of his great exploit, drew on me here again.
None of these rogues and cowards, but Ajax is their fool.
Fetch forth the stuff, you stubborn ancient knave. You reverend braggart, we'll teach you.
Sir, I am too old to learn. Call not your stocks for me. I serve the king, on whose employment I was sent to you. You shall do small respect, show too bold malice against the grace and person of my master, stocking his messenger.
Fetch forth the stocks. As I have life and honor, there shall he sit till noon.
Till noon? Till night, my lord, and all night too.
Why, madam, if I were your father's dog, you should not use me so.
Sir, being his knave, I will.
This is a fellow of the self-same color. Our sister speaks of. Yes, or come, bring away the sons.
Let me beseech your grace not to do so. His fault is much, and the good king is master. Will check him for. Your proposed low correction is such as basest and contempt wretches, where pilferings and most common trespasses are punished with. The king as master needs must take it ill, that he so slightly valued in his messenger should have him thus restrained.
I'll answer that.
My sister may receive it much more worse. To have her gentleman abused, assaulted, or following her affairs, put in his legs. Come, my lord. Come, my good lord. Wait.
I am sorry for thee, friend. 'Tis the Duke's pleasure, whose disposition all the world well knows, will not be rubbed nor stopped. I'll entreat for thee.
Pray do not, sir. I have watched and traveled hard. Sometime I shall sleep out, the rest I'll whistle. A good man's fortune may grow out at heel. Give you good morrow.
The Duke's to blame in this. 'Twill be ill taken.
Good king that must approve the common saw, thou out of heaven's benediction comest to the warm sun. Approach, thou beacon to this underglow, that by this comfortable beams I may peruse this letter. Nothing almost sees, miracles but misery. I know 'tis from Cordelia, who hath most fortunately been informed of my obscured course, and shall find time from this enormous state, seeking to give losses their remedy. All weary, and o'erwatch take vantage, heavy eyes not to behold this shameful lodging. Fortune, good night, smile once more, turn thy wheel.
Well, there's not very much that's of thematic interest in this scene. It's basically all about Kent, and it's good for a little astrological character study. Kent is obviously a good man, but he is also a man at the same time with a martial nature. He's full of energy, he's full of spunk. He believes in action. For him, action proves and fulfills righteousness. He's sort of a throwback to an ancient belief that somehow does have some truth to it. In ancient times, it was believed, especially in the times of champions, that an honest and a virtuous man was stronger and would always prevail over somebody who was not honest and virtuous in the battle. Of course, modern thinkers like Edmund would think that's all hogwash or some kind of superstition. And we might have to agree to some extent that not all champions are good men and women. There are some people, and you see them on the football field, that are of superior strength and skill and intelligent, but they're sinister. But the fact that there are skilled malavores does not invalidate the psycho-spiritual or the psycho-physical principle that's involved here. Deep within, all of us know that we're responsible for all of our deeds. And we sense somehow that we are renegade to the divine intent. That knowledge brings up or discloses in us an internal inconsistency. Truth, its strength, ultimately lie in consistency. If we can give everything that we have without a hitch, without any kind of holdback, we are at our very strongest. If we doubt, we're more likely to falter. Now, it's difficult to determine these things in the battle between two people because they are each at different levels of development. It would obviously be much better if we were all exactly equal. In such a case, the consistency would prove the strength of someone. The epitome of the martial nature, whether it's right or wrong, is on page 48, line 72. Sir, anger hath a privilege, meaning to say that temper or indignation, which would be better words than anger, does have its right to it. Mars is not a deep planet, and like each of the planets, it's subject to its own particular ways and weaknesses. It's very common that a planet's strength is also its weakness. As stated, Mars would settle everything by force, and that isn't right. I suffered for many years because when I was a child, I grew up in the radio years, and I suffered from what I call the Lone Ranger syndrome. And I was inclined to express my self-righteousness out of that. Every few weeks on the Lone Ranger, there would be an episode where somebody had to get into the bad guy's hideout. And the Lone Ranger would picture himself as a weak and decrepit old man, and he would beg the gangsters or the outlaws to take him in, and he would serve them, and they'd kick him around. And then, when the right time came, the Lone Ranger showed himself and beat up all the bad guys. That's the Lone Ranger's syndrome. Basically, it states it's all right for the good guys to beat up the bad guys because the good guys are good guys and the bad guys are bad guys. Now, Kent certainly is right about Oswald, who was a provocateur, and the people that he served were base-minded people. And he's right in being true to Lear and to Cordelia. But when he resorts to force to settle the issue and to make things right, he's put himself on the same level as those people. It's a difficult matter because sometimes we do have to resort to force. We have to backslide. When we do so, we must always keep in mind that might doesn't make right, and what we're doing is only a temporizing thing. And every time we revert to force, it's just so that to bide more time, so that there will be more soul power, so that eventually we won't have to do that. Sad that things are that way. Gandhi's experiments showed that there's great power in non-resistance, but they also showed by his own estimation that not many people are ready to live that way yet. So Kent, if you look at it in an objective way, Kent comes off as a bully. He's truculent. He tries to force the right. Tim gets to read a whole scene all by himself alone.
I heard myself proclaimed, and by the happy hollow the tree escapes the hunt. No port is free, no place of guard and most unusual vigilance does not attend my taking. Whiles I may escape, I will preserve myself. and I am bethought to take the basest and most poorest shape that ever penury, in contempt of man, brought near to beasts. My face I'll grime with filth, blanket my loins, out all my hairs in knots, and with presented nakedness outface the winds and persecutions of the sky. The country gives me proof and precedent of bedlam beggars, who with roaring voices strike in their numbed and mortified bare arms, pins, wooden pricks, nails, sprigs of rosemary. And with this horrible object, from low farms, poor pelting villages, sheepcotes and mills, sometimes with lunatic bands, sometimes with prayers, enforce their charity. Poor Turligod, poor Tom, there's something yet. Edgar, I, nothing else.
Well, why rosemary? What reason?
Rosemary was used for brightening up the consciousness, bringing back remembrance. It's meant to be like a stimulating kind of thing. I didn't look into the herbalism of it in this case. This is just a scene setter to develop one of the subplots. Has some lovely words in it, but it is not intended to be a ponderous thing. In a strange way, it does spark something very big for me about Shakespeare and this play especially, but it's way too long for tonight, so we're going to defer it for another time, probably when they're out on the heath and raging against the storm will be a good time to look at that. So let's just go on and read the last scene. Oh, I'm out. Huh? How do you like that? 'Tis strange that they should so depart from home and not send back my messenger.
As I learned the night before, there was no purpose in of this remove.
Hail to thee, noble master.
Makest thou this shame thy pastime?
No, my lord.
Ha ha, he wears cruel garters. Horses are tied by the heads, dogs and bears by the neck, monkeys by the loins, and men by the legs. When a man's o'erlusty legs, then he wears wooden nether stockings.
What's he that hath so much thy place mistook to set thee here?
It is both he and she, your son and daughter.
No.
Yes.
No, I say.
I say yea.
No, they would not.
Yes, they have.
By Jupiter, I swear no.
By Juno, I swear I.
They durst not do it. Would not do it.
Would not.
Sorry.
Tis worse than murder to do upon respect such violent outrage. Resolve me with all modest haste which way thou mightest deserve, or they impose this usage coming from us.
My lord, when at their home I did commend your highness's letters to them, ere I was risen from the place that showed my duty kneeling, came there a reeking post, stewed in his haste, half breathless, panting forth from Goneril his mistress' salutations, delivered letters, spite of intermission, which presently they read, on whose contents they summoned up their meanie, straight took horse, commanded me to follow and attend the leisure of their answer, gave me cold looks, and meeting here the other messenger, whose welcome I perceived had poisoned mine, being the very fellow which of late displayed so saucily against your highness, having more man than wit about me, drew. He raised the house with loud and coward cries. Your son and daughter found this trespass worth the shame which here it suffers.
Winter's not gone yet, if the wild geese fly that way. Fathers that wear rags do make their children blind, but fathers that bear bags shall see their children kind. Fortune that errant whore ne'er turns the key to the poor. For all this thou shalt have as many dolours for thy daughters as thou canst tell in years.
Oh, how this mother swells up toward my heart. Hysterica passio, down, thou climbing sorrow, thy elements below. Where is this daughter?
With the Earl, sir, here within.
Follow me not.
More light.
Stay here. May you know more offense but what you speak of?
None. How chance the king comes with so small a number?
And thou hadst been set in the stocks for that question. Thou'dst well deserved it.
Why, fool?
We'll set thee to school to an end, to teach thee there's no laboring in the winter. All that follow their noses are led by their eyes but blind men. There's not a nose among 20 that can smell him that's stinking. Let go thy hold when a great wheel runs down a hill, lest it break thy neck with following. The great one that goes upward, let him draw thee after. When the wise man gives thee better counsel, give me mine again. I would have none but knaves follow it, since the fool gives it. That, sir, which serves and seeks for gain, and follows but for form, go back when it begins to rain, and leave thee in the storm. I will tarry, the fool will stay, and let the wise man fly. The knave turns fool that runs away, the fool no knave for die.
Where learnest you this, fool?
Not in the stocks, fool.
Deny to speak with me. They are sick, they are weary, they have travelled all the night. They are fetches, the images of revolt and flying off. Fetch me a better answer.
My dear Lord, you know the fiery quality of the Duke, how unremovable and fixed he is in his own course.
Vengeance, plague, death, confusion. Fiery? What quality? Why, Gloucester, I speak with the Duke of Cornwall and his wife.
Well, my good lord, I have informed them so.
Informed them? Dost thou understand me, man?
Hey, my good lord.
The king would speak with Cornwall. The dear father would with his daughter speak. Command 10, service. Are they informed of this? My breath and blood? Fiery? The fiery Duke? Tell the hot Duke that no, but not yet. Maybe he is not well. Infirmity doth still neglect all office, whereto our health is bound. We are not ourselves, when nature, being oppressed, commands the mind to suffer with the body. I'll forbear, and am fallen out with my more headier will, to take the indisposed and sickly fit for the sound man. Death on my state, wherefore should he sit here? This act persuades me that this remotion of the Duke and her is practice only. Give me my servant forth. Go tell the Duke and his wife I'll speak with them. Now, presently, I bid them come forth and hear me, or at their chamber door I'll beat the drum till it cries sleep to death.
I would have all well betwixt you.
Oh me, my heart, my rising heart, look down.
Cry to it, Nuncle, as the cockney did to the eels when she put him in the paste alive. She napped him of the coxcombs with a stick and cried, "Down, Montans, down." 'Twas her brother that, in pure kindness to his horse, buttered his hay.
Good morrow.
Glory to you both.
Hail to your grace.
I am glad to see you, Highness.
Reagan, I think you are. I know what reason I have to think so. If thou shouldest not be glad, I would divorce me from my mother's tomb. Septuary and adulteress. Oh, are you free? Some other time for that, beloved Reagan. thy sister not. O Regan, she hath tied sharp-toothed unkindness like a vulture here. I can scarce speak to thee. Thou'lt not believe how with depraved equality, O Regan.
I pray you, sir, take patience. I have hope. You less know how to value her desert than she has gained her duty.
Say, how is that?
I cannot think my sister in the least would fail her obligation, if, sir, perchance, she stood of restraint the riots of your followers. 'Tis on such ground, and to such wholesome end as clears her from all blame.
My curses on her.
Oh, sir, you are old. Nature in you stands on the very verge of this confine. You should be ruled and led by some discretion that discerns your state better than you yourself. Therefore, I pray you that to our sister you do make return. Say you have wronged her.
Ask her forgiveness? Do you but mark how this becomes the house? Dear daughter, I confess that I am old. Age is unnecessary. On my knees I beg that you will vouchsafe me raiment, bed, and food.
Good sir, no more. These are unsightly tricks. Return you to my sister.
Never, Regan. She hath abated me of half my train, looked black upon me, struck me with her tongue, most serpent-like. Upon the very heart all the stored vengeances of heaven fall on her ingrateful top. Strike her young bones, you taking airs with lameness.
Gee, sir,
You nimble lightnings, dart your blinding flames into her scornful eyes. Infect her beauty. You fence such frogs, drawn by the powerful sun, to fall and blister her pride.
Oh, the blessed God, so you wish I knew when the rash news arrived.
No, Regan, thou shalt never have my curse. Thy tender-hefted nature shall not give thee over to harshness. Her eyes are fierce, but thine do comfort and not burn. It's not in thee to grudge my pleasure, to cut off my pain, to bandy hasty words, to scant my sizes, and in conclusion to oppose the bolt against my coming in. Thou better knowest the office of nature, bond of childhood, effects of courtesy, dues of gratitude. Thy half of the kingdom hast thou not forgot, wherein may be endowed.
Good sir, 'tis purpose.
Who put my man in the stocks?
What trumpet's that?
I know to my sisters. This approves her letter that she would be here soon. Is your lady come?
This is a slave, whose easy borrowed pride dwells in the fickle grace of her he follows. Out thou left from my sight.
What means your grace?
It's not.
What? I'm sorry, I got more yet. Where am I now?
No, it's
Bottom of page 61. What means your grace?
that's what he's read.
Yeah, that's where he was.
Oh, okay. Now I turned 2 pages instead of 1.
who stalked my servant? Regan, I have good hope. Thou dost not know aught. Who comes here? O heaven, O heavens, if you do not love all men, if your sway allow of obedience, if you yourself are old, make it your cause. Send down and take my part. Art not ashamed to look upon this beard? O Regan, will you take her by the hand?
Why not by the hand, sir? How have I offended? All's not offense that indiscretion finds, and dotage terms so.
Besides, you are too tough. Will you yet hold? How came I a man in the spot?
I second there, sir, but his own disorders deserve much less advancement.
You? Did you?
I pray you, Father, being weak, seem so. If till the expiration of your month you will return and sojourn with my sister, dismissing half your train, then come to me. I am now from home, out of that provision, which shall be
No, rather I abjure all roofs, and choose to wage against the enmity of the air. To be a comrade with the wolf and owl, necessity's sharp pinch. Return with her? Why, the hot-blooded France that dowerless took our youngest born, I could as well be brought to knee his throne, and squire-like pinch and beg to keep base life afoot. Return with her? Persuade me rather to be slave and sumpter to this detested groom.
At your choice, sir.
I prithee, daughter, do not make me mad. I will not trouble thee, my child. Farewell. We'll no more meet, no more see one another. But yet thou art my flesh, my blood, my daughter, or rather a disease that's in my flesh, which I must needs call mine. Thou art a boil, a plague sore, an embossed carbuncle in my corrupted blood. But I'll not chide thee. Let shame come when it will, I do not call it. I do not bid the thunder-bearer shoot, nor tell tales of thee to high-judging Jove. Mend when thou canst, be better at thy leisure. I can be patient. I can stay with Regan, I and my 100 knights.
Not altogether so. I look not for you yet, nor am provided for your fit welcome. Give ear, sir, to my sister, for those that mingle reason with your passion must be content to think you old, and so, but she knows what she does.
Is this well spoken?
I dare avouch it, sir. What 50 followers? It is not well. What should you need of more? Yea, or so many sit that both charge in danger. Speak against so great a number. How in one house should many people under 2 commands hold enmity? 'Tis hard, almost impossible.
Why might not you, my lord, receive attendance from those that she calls servants, or from mine?
Why not, my lord? If then they chance to slack ye, you could control them. If you will come to me, and now, in spite of danger, I entreat you to bring but 5 and 20. To no more will I give place for notice.
I gave you all.
And in good time you gave it.
Made you my guardians, my depositories, but kept a reservation to be followed with such a number. What, must I come to you with 5 and 20? Regan, said you so?
Speak again, my lord, no more with me.
Those wicked creatures yet do look well-favoured when others are more wicked. Not being the worst stands in some rank of praise. I'll go with thee. Thy 50 yet doth double 5 and 20, and thou art twice so low.
Hear me, my lord. What need you 5 and 20, 10, or 5? To follow in a house where twice so many have a command to tend you.
What need one?
O reason not the need. Our basest beggars are in the poorest things superfluous. Allow not nature more than nature needs. Man's life is cheap as peace. Thou art a lady, if only to go warm were gorgeous. Why, nature needs not what thou gorgeous wearest, which scarcely keeps thee warm. But for true need, you heavens, give me that patience I need. You see me here, you gods, a poor old man, as full of grief as age, wretched and bold. If it be you that stirs these daughters' hearts against their father, fool, not me so much to bear it tamely. Touch me with noble anger, let not woman's weapons, water drops, stain my man's cheeks. Know you unnatural hags, I will have such revenge on you both, that all the world shall. I will do such things. What they are, yet I know not, but they shall be the terrors of the earth. You think I'll weep? No, I'll not weep. I have full cause of weeping, but this heart shall break into 100,000 flaws, where'er I'll weep. O fool, I shall go mad.
Let us withdraw till 'twill be a storm.
This house is little. The old man and his people cannot be well understood.
'Tis his own blame, hath put himself from rest, and must needs taste his folly.
For his particular I'll receive him gladly, not one follower.
So am I purposed. Where is my lord of Gloucester?
Followed the old man forth. He has returned.
The king is in high rage.
Whither is he going?
He calls to horse, but will I know not whither?
It's best to give him way. He leads himself.
My lord, entreat him by no means to stay.
Alack, the night comes on, and the high winds do sorely ruffle. For many miles about there's scarce a bush.
O sir, to wilful men, the injuries that they themselves procure must be their schoolmasters. Shut up your doors. He is attended with a desperate train, and what they may incense him to do, being apt to have his ear abused, wisdom bids fear.
Shut up your doors, my lord. It is a wild night. I read in counsel well. Come out of the storm.
Exeunt.
We learned little faster than language.
Well, this part of the, especially the early part of the scene, clears up a lot of ambiguities about Lear. In the early part of the play, Lear is an unbelievable character. It's clear, just about all the factions, that he is some kind of a fool. Even his supporters believe that. In some ways, until now, it seemed that he was just a blustering, cantankerous old fool that was sort of going into dotage and senility. But if that is all there was to his character, why does he have so many very good, high-character, principled people faithful to him? He's got this fool, he's got Kent, he's got Cordelia. They're all faithful to him. They wouldn't be faithful to somebody that was just a simpleton like that. In this scene, especially in the early part of this scene, we see he is simple. He doesn't believe. He's unwilling to think ill of his daughter. And that is what has endeared him to his allies. He blusters, makes a lot of noise when it seems that people are not adhering to the traditional rules of the game, but he's the malicious man. He's shallow. With tragedy, he's going to deepen his shallowness. It is his reward for being good to grow and to go through suffering. 6, he's still thinking that way yet, even after he has been snubbed. He doesn't even believe the snub or the alibis, and he tries to cover for them by saying that they're ill. He's got, Shakespeare, on the other hand, knows how scoundrels work, how their words are all lies. In the lines between 135 and 150, Regan uses the words that scoundrels use to this day. You hear a lot in government, and it goes to the effect, we're doing this because it's good. That's the way that people always apologize for themselves. By the time you get to lines 170 to 180, he still hasn't caught on. He's so simple and so willing to do well of people. It takes an awful lot to turn him around. The passage, when he is turned around, gives us a reason why he may be simple. He blows off steam in words and releases all the power of the situation before it has a chance to sink in. Extroversion always produces shallowness. 6 and 10, Lear predicts the fate of the future. Last time he predicted that there was blindness coming out of all of this, ingratitude, and this time he predicts his own abandonment to live out the air. He uses the rage and his pride while saying at the same time that he isn't going to do that, and he continues to act as though he still had power. He doesn't realize it. The person who has real power has freedom. Freedom is creativity. All Lear has known is particular power and nothing more. His daughters offer him options. Options are diminishing. Because he doesn't have power, he doesn't have creative freedom, and he can't see between the options. So he's successful in limiting to him to see only these options. He can't make something new for himself. He begins to realize his weakness of what's going on when he does take up the offer of Goneril. But at the same time, she realizes that he is now sensing that he's weak, and she lowers her offer and they whittle him down to nothing. They have exactly what they want now. He has no manpower, and he is leaving to the elements. And all of this seems a horrible tragedy, and it is in a way when anytime somebody acts spitefully and mean. For Lear, it may not be as terrible as it seems, because he's raged, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He follows the dictum, though not intentionally, that Socrates stated that it's better to suffer evil than to do evil. So he is a classic tragic hero that's going to grow under misfortune. Stripped of everything, he's now forced on himself. We have to see now what happens. He is on himself, and he has a culture because he's kept himself shallow. Next time we'll try to do the next act. We'll do the last 3 acts, one each. Have a good Christmas. Be